Hi, everyone, and welcome to Best Podcast Ever, where three idiots you don't know talk about a hobby you've never heard of.
We assure you this will be the best slot car podcast we are aware of.
Line, Kevin?
Only slot car podcast you're aware of.
All right.
Or not.
My name's Brian. With me on lane number 2 here is Mike, and on sound at this exact moment is Kevin.
Hi.
We're running some inaugural laps on the track in my illustrious basement, cleverly named Best Track Ever.
And it has already claimed its first victim before this started.
Yeah, folks, before we even got the recording started, and good thing we're doing a visual hobby in an audio-only format.
It was Kogan.
Kevin proceeded to Kogan his Fox body.
Unfortunately, taking out himself.
Yeah.
Not AJ Foyt and Sir Mario Andretti.
Honestly, it was a little bit more like the 1989 Kevin Kogan debacle where he hit the end of the pit wall. But,
so we've already introduced the characters, by the way. We have
in the retirement.
we have Kevin referencing something you might get if you're a sports fan. We have Mike referencing something no one's going to get except for Mike, and there's a very quiet Brian. You're not going to hear a lot from me when they go off on those tangents.
I promise you I'll mention as much detail as possible so you won't be able to follow.
All right, on that note, the way this
podcast...
podcast...
to his lower lip in this year.
All right, so the way this podcast works is we have lane 1, lane 2. I'm currently in lane 1. I got Mike in lane 2. We're going to do some racing while we discuss pre-approved topics. Approved by somebody, certainly not us. On that note, this is not a child-friendly podcast.
Can I have my car?
No.
I will get my other car off the track.
Go green.
It says the no green lane.
So we are currently racing slotted alphas.
With a mic directly in the track, so you get to hear all of it.
Well, my tires were dirty to begin with, so this will get only more exciting.
Okay, so first topic tonight is how to get into slot car racing in the first place, and then we'll talk a little bit about how myself, Mike, and Kevin got into this illustrious hobby that led us into recording a podcast in Mike's basement on a Friday night.
With your store on the main road.
All right.
So really, how to get into slot car racing. So if you are listening to this podcast on purpose, chances are you already know how to get into slot car racing. You probably have a track, you probably have a local race where you go to. But if you've gotten here by accident, please don't leave us. We need all the views we can hit.
We have candy and vans
and
full
beer.
Of candy. And we do have beer.
That sound you hear is people violently unsubscribing and writing us emails.
The unclick button was made just for this.
But really, if you have any interest in slot car racing in general, first thing I suggest doing is seeing if there's a local racetrack near you, which, in all honesty, chances are there's not.
Drive to Hoboken.
Truth be told, me, Kevin, and Mike have been racing together for, almost a decade as a team.
They're about
2007.
That's literally a decade. We know units of time. And there was a hobby shop that I used to work at called New Jersey Nostalgia Hobby. Website is njhobby.net. Go ahead and check it out. Mike spent a lot of time making that website for us to vehemently ignore it. And
it's slot car bliss.
We used to race there.
Oops, wrong site.
Okay, so explaining the first inside joke of the night.
GeoCities.
Yeah, NJ Hobby used to have 2 websites. One real, one merely imaginary. And it was, like, the one that wasn't real, that was a fan site, actually had a lot more hits than the real site.
Which beer is mine?
You're exit 6 this time.
Ooh.
And I was working there, and Kevin and Mike would go in every Friday and Saturday. And on Friday, I would actually be racing with them. But on Saturday, I was actually working. And
what do normal people do on Saturday?
Work in a hobby shop.
I worked at a hobby shop. What do you want? And believe it or not, I would just use Kevin and Mike as an excuse to stand by the track and pretend to be working.
And if we're honest, and let's be honest, we moved more merchandise than you did. Anyway,
oh, yeah.
So. Pretty much. I mean, you
Not
really...
by the international set.
let's hit each other on a track where you can fall into.
That was in the one spot that would send you off the table, and
There
you
is
didn't.
for those of you who are listening, since there's no visual
All
dimension
7 of
to
you.
this, all 1 of you.
Oh, did we get a picture yet?
There
No.
is a certain Rainbow Road aspect to Best Track Ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't finished building it yet, so you can fall off very easily. And by very easily, I mean very easily.
Like half the turns, you can fall into a death pit, much like Rainbow Road,
Some of which are virtually unrecoverable because you have to crawl under the table to recover.
which is how we already claimed a car.
Well,
Oh, yes!
On the power
We
supply.
definitely
The power
spiked on that one. Ugh.
Well, the Jägermeister 320 already left the table too,
Oh.
and the
There
controller.
goes the controller.
Oh, there goes the controller.
There goes the wing is okay. But anyway, how do you get into slot car racing? If you have a local area, please go in there, see if those guys are cool.
You probably do have a local area, but there might not be a slot car track in it. But
Go
It's
to your
your
local
right. It's your right to put one in it.
go to your local watering hole and taste it.
Go to local sporting events.
But let's say you're where 90% of the world is, and there is no slot car track. Chances are you're going to go online, and you're going to see 2 types of cars. There's 132nd, which is what we're racing now, which honestly we still enjoy racing. And then there's HO, which we'll get to in a
we'll get to it.
we'll get to HO racing later. Right now we're still having a good time. And you're going to find a couple of tracks, and chances are there's going to be some brands that jump out at you. And the first 2 are going to be
Carrera.
and Skelectrics.
Neither of which you want to buy.
Well,
You'd
Well,
be
I mean,
told
for
to
a
buy.
starter track.
for a track,
Oh,
I mean,
track.
We're running on Carrera track right now, and it's fine.
Oh, I think you're talking about cars.
Well, no, but if you're
I just-
if you're just getting into the hobby, there's nothing wrong with the Carrera track.
no.
I totally spaced out.
In fact, if you're 25 years into the hobby, as I am, the track is fine. I wouldn't recommend the cars, but as a starting point,
Unless you have the
But
C6R or
it's-
E-Type.
It's like any hobby; you can put as much into it as you would like. So if
I
you
just play my cars.
if you just want to, get a set and race those 2 cars, and even if you just want to go out and just buy Carrera cars, you'll be happy because you'll never know there's anything better.
That's true. That is true. And the
That-
same will happen if you go the Skelectric route.
Well, Skelectrics does have some negatives as well. Carrera is physically big, and the track is brittle, which is a pro and a con. Skelectrics, the track is a little bit more flexible, so you'd think that would be more forgiving if you step on it, but it's really
Radius
not.
1.
And, I mean, the main problem with Skelectrics, speaking as somebody who, is in New Jersey
Hawks
that
it all
has...
the time.
I don't work at the hobby shop anymore, but it does rust if you put it in a damp area. And
Like
if you're,
my basement.
yeah,
Or
or
why
any,
I'm running Carrera.
or any basement in New Jersey, for that matter.
Or on the Eastern Seaboard.
Stop trying to knock me into the damn pit.
This is the first time I've run this track with someone in the other lane. Other than
That
when
wasn't a screwdriver.
Other than when I screwdriver ghosted the Mustang on the other lane the other night. Yes, I did do that.
But you want to understand, okay, what scale do you want? And we're all recommending 132nd, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And do you want to go analog or digital? You'll want to go analog. Digital is fun, but it's very expensive, and it's a great way to destroy cars. It really, I love racing digital. Who doesn't? But let's be honest, how long
Make the
do we
car
race
with the
digital?
biggest wedge on the front.
Yeah, we raced digital for maybe a season and a half, and then we're like, let's never do this again.
We ran like 6 weeks straight at digital.
Yeah,
Like,
it
not
was
more
a
than
novelty, and it was new. But if you're trying to get into slot car racing as a hobby and not as a novelty, you should probably go analog.
Right. I mean, at that point, you might as well go, TCR or
Ooh.
Or that one SCX set that was the bane of my existence when I was still working at the hobby
Or
shop.
the Ninko Rally set.
Nico go-kart set.
We'll have ample time to come back to all of this.
SCX, even
Oh,
better
no,
cars than
no.
Carrera.
But try and find a decent size Carrera set to start with. Don't buy the figure 8. If you
Well, you got to buy the 1/24th scale track.
well, you have to buy the
For
120
cars, you can't. No, with the 24th scale car.
But you need to have an interesting layout so that you enjoy running it, and you also need to have a big enough space so that you can open the cars up. Otherwise, you're just going to spend more time picking the cars up than you are running
Well, the
them.
best part about the 1/24th scale Carreras, they were even slower than the 132.
They actually had a sponge drive. Did I ever tell you guys about that?
No, I never opened one up. I have one.
Are they sponge worthy?
I own one Carrera 124 scale car. It's an Audi R8. I bought it the night before I went to Lime Rock for the last time they raced the Audi R8 in real life.
Oh, you got to sign it, didn't you?
And I got Linda Capello and Alan McNish to sign it. And I asked them if they would trade me the slot car for their real car. And they did say yes, but then, they never followed up. So I still have it. I wish I had the real one.
And you've been rooting for Peugeot ever since.
Oh! That was all me, too.
You know what doesn't help is the track is right there. You have a roll of paper towels, a plastic bag right there.
One of your cats or something.
Yes, my basement is a mess. It's a basement.
There's use my coat. Here, use the coat.
You mean your sweatshirt you claim as a coat?
Yes.
Sweat coat. Oh my god.
But yeah, that's our recommendation on how to get into it. Get a set, get a friend. Then again, if you're racing slot cars, you probably
don't have one to begin with, but you can probably trick one into it.
And just toy with it and get as far into it as you want. You can, do what we do and spend more money on parts than cars, and then spend probably $110 to win a $15 prize. $6.
Wait, store credit.
Store credit, NJ Hobby. Come for the racing. Stay because you have nowhere else to go.
Stay because you have a store credit to spend.
There's frozen yogurt next door, but they don't use the bathroom anymore.
Really?
They're on to you?
We can't name them, but
please don't.
Even if it's in good?
Yeah, just don't. Let's not.
Well, he was frowned upon the night on walking in there and just using the bathroom.
Oh, well.
Even walking in.
Them?
Well, the best part is you could just walk right in the back door and use the bathroom and they can't even see you. He probably walked in the front door, walked straight back, gave him a dirty look.
We're talking about. But we won't venture down that dark path there.
I'm just trying to lose that car.
Yeah, you are.
But
also known as a great Indian leader.
Before I get off the mic, because I'm sure everybody has already either turned off, downvoted, or reported us for copyright infringement of some nature.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and talk about how we got into the hobby. So obviously, I worked at a hobby shop. My dad owned a hobby shop. I kind of grew up there. So that's my story. I just kind of was born into it.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to...
So I got my first exposure to slot cars. I was probably about 4 years old. And I don't remember now if it was my birthday or Christmas, but somebody gave me a Richard Petty Racing Tyco 440, not X2, but 440.
Ooh, the Magnum?
Narrow pan NASCAR's Magnum with the bar magnet. It was the Richard Petty Buick that had an arrow window in the back, which, Kevin, you're the GM guy here. I don't think that was a thing, but it was a thing in the set. And the Monroe Nada car, set car, that was one deal.
You mean the Tyco Thunderbird of cars?
Yeah, that's right. So I had those, and somebody also, I guess my parents must have been the ones to pull the trigger. My dad was, my dad did freelance photography of 1-to-1 scale racing, as those of us in the super cool hobby sometimes call it. And, gave me my love of real race cars, which is something that not everyone in the slot car hobby shares, and we'll get to that. But the other pair of cars I got were a pair of the essential Tyco car, the Tyco Chapelole.
Now, review on that coming soon.
Yeah,
Pennzoil.
We'll get to that eventually, but
he said for the 8th time.
Tyco, yeah.
We could read a teaser of it.
Ambition is the mother of invention. Tyco really loved to have as few molds as possible and make as many cars as possible with those molds. So, I played with those on my living room floor on the carpet for a couple of years probably, and then eventually I got a small train set instead and kind of forgot about slot cars, honestly, until I was about 12-ish. And a friend of mine got a Lifeline set for his birthday. And I was like, I remember slot cars. I'll play slot cars with you. Like when you're a kid, you play slot cars.
You are asking for trouble
and
right
we
now.
eventually, in town was the Nostalgia Hobby. And we went in there and bought everything in sight because he was a child of means. We bought every gimmick track we could, regardless of what brand of track it was. We bought the adapter pieces. And we built what we dubbed, because it was his favorite NASCAR driver, Rusty Wallace International Raceway. And it took up literally his entire room, wall to wall. You could not walk into his room to play N64, which is the main reason you would go in there, unless you were racing Black Boys. And we ran magnet HO cars on that track until like flames would come out of it. We would just beat the hell out of them. We would run 500 lap races on this track that was not big enough that you would even need to get off the throttle, and using the lifelike controllers. So we would actually have
little contact out there.
NASCAR Truck Series style competition cautions where we would stop.
You mean interrupt like the 24 hours of Le Mans
to
race
retire wheel balancing? Yeah, we would actually like call the race periodically, have a track wheel, magnet the cars onto an oscillating fan that was in his room, and just cool the motors.
Exit 6.
And then resume. And this was with the AFX lap counter, that overhead one.
That only counted to 99.
That only counted to 99, so we had to trust each other to keep a tally of how many times we had tripped the counter over 0 again.
I'm sure nobody ever cheated.
No, nobody ever cheated. So we had a bit of everything. We had the AFX, the original, the old style AFX, the ones that you slid sideways.
Oh, did you have the zipper track?
No, we had the cobblestone track. The AFX cobblestone track, which we dubbed it Brickyard. We put that right after the Tyco jump track. We had some Tomy AFX bank turns. We had some lifelike track because that's what we started with. We had a little bit of everything, and we ran on that track until so much carpet fiber and sort of dust got on it, and it was too much work to clean because it was all over the room. So we were like, all right,
I'm dead.
Interesting. Popping out.
I have no idea.
So on our many trips to the store to buy track...
Yeah, I actually broke the entire wire.
Oh, cool.
Because the eyelets are wedged in there.
Would you like my DTM?
Well, you know what? Why don't we, because Kevin, you're going to go up next. Mike, why don't you go to lane 1?
All right, I'll finish my pontificating. I am taking my own controller.
Yeah, no, Kevin, get your own controller.
All right.
So on our many trips to the store to buy track, Joe had mentioned Joe is the proprietor / father of Brian, that they had Friday night racing, which we, being 12-year-old kids, thought was like some sort of like league.
Like some sort of ritual you needed
invited to join.
You're not the only folks who thought it was a league.
Yeah, like we thought you had to race every week and qualify
and be good at it.
Be good at things.
Be teams.
So we joined the league, as it were, and entered a Tyco wide-pan NASCAR race. And everybody else was running the W body.
It's much not as loud.
Lumina.
All right, DTM it is.
Which is the right body to run. And here I was with my Ward Burton Caterpillar Pontiac, which weighed more than the track. And at the time, there was a Tomy plastic track in an original Aurora tub.
Are you ready for
with custom pieces? Because there were certain bastard-sized pieces that
that's right.
Tomy.
There were hand cut.
What do you mean you don't make a 5-inch straight?
So, at any rate, I mean, I promptly took out everyone because I fell out, got hit, and then everyone hit me, and then everyone was out. And I earned my first nickname, which was...
Mike the Asshole?
That's right.
Or Mike That Asshole.
That's right. And that was my introduction to competitive slot car racing. And we raced only HO in the shop in those days. And when 132nd came into the schedule, I was skeptical of it, to say the least. But that's another story. So,
Kevin, you want to talk about how you...
Kevin, as I get his defense.
The damaged.
Oh my God.
This would not pass the NASCAR 5-minute clock now.
Let me go ahead and just close my eyes here for 2 minutes and see exactly what this wonderful experience is going to be like here.
I'm nose racing Kevin's tires for his convenience.
I'm sure that makes sense to people who don't
All
know
right,
soccer
so,
racing.
oh man. my orthodontist was down the street, so we just happened to walk down the street one day after Champion Hobbies, because I was in the RC cars before anything. And I walked down, I saw, ooh, cars in a window. I walked in. Joe said something about slot car racing, and I'm like, do say more. So, needless to say, my first experience racing slot cars was Formula One Skeletric.
Ooh.
Which did not go well. I ran the David Coulthard McLaren. I can't talk and race at the same time.
Welcome to Coulthard time.
How can you not talk and race at the same time? That's how I met you.
I'm trying to think of actually saying something not horrible to people, persons on the internet.
I can already hear them typing.
So I walked in, and your dad's like, we race on Friday nights. I'm like, I have nothing to do on Friday nights because I'm really antisocial. So I walked in and, met people that I can't talk about, and they were like, you should race.
You met Brian and
Brian
and Mike.
Mike was not there at this time. I did not know Mike.
This was during one of my several retirements. I'm really good at rage quitting things, and slot car racing is something I rage quit regularly. So,
which is something I'm being forced into doing now.
Well, it's not rage quitting. You've been forced to not be there.
Not be there for 1 week while we do something we've been trying to do for 3-4 years.
But either way,
and I can tell why it's taken us this long. It was a lot of setup to put a microphone in the track and have one dude wearing headphones.
Well, we needed to have a track.
I had slot cars sets, mostly HO Tyco sets and Lifelike sets, or row car.
By the way, we have since switched to sideways Group 5.
C, Group 5.
Kevin is running the Fox Body Mustang, which is technically not a Group 5 car at all. It's an IMSA GTO car.
GTO class.
Running the Longtail 935 Moby Dick. Kevin just fenced his car again. Let's see if I can nudge him back in. Nope.
But either way, I walked in one day and was hooked. It started out as I liked 132nd racing. And hated HO because I was terrible with T-Jets.
Some of us
and now I actually like T-Jets more.
Really?
Yeah, I like HO racing more than I like 132.
Well, that makes one of us.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
let's face it, I am much better with an HO car.
Well, that's probably true, and that's something if you're thinking about getting into the hobby to consider. We didn't really get to it. Well,
I would say 132 is a better way to start, though.
Yeah, even if you just get into that was quite interesting. Even if you get into
how are the fenders on this thing not destroyed? Even
actually tuning your cars, 132nd has the added advantage of readily commercial.
What you're not about to see right now is the VTE start, even though he left already.
And you can also see what you're working on, which is always kind of nice, and you kind of know what you're getting.
Unless you buy Skeletrics now.
Yeah,
Who's Skeletric?
There's a lot of finesse involved in HO tuning that my sausage fingers do not
and not to mention, you're buying a product that's from the 60s, which none of us were alive for.
That's true.
But I have mastered since.
That's also true.
And not just in this basement.
So, okay. I'm in position 1, so I think it's up to me to call when this topic is over.
Next is best worst.
Yeah, something like that.
This is going to scratch the paint.
We are 24 minutes in.
Yeah, just switch, yeah.
So, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is, as producer Brian said, best and worst cars.
Well, I'm producer Brian because I'm certainly not good racer Brian, decent tuner Brian. Right. These are not titles I hold.
So,
there it goes. Okay, so what you folks didn't see is the Fox Body loves that hole to jump into.
I had the corner nailed too.
If you're
the panel's gone.
I took it off.
Oh, you took it off?
And the wing.
So we're racing modifieds?
If you're
we're racing NASCAR wheel and modifieds currently.
If you have any interest in one-to-one racing, you'll know that the best tracks have named corners rather than just numbers. And it seems obvious to me that this corner shall henceforth be known as the Foxhole. If I had the paint pen of justice, which I do not, I would write that on. Oh, I do have the paint pen of justice. And it is going on there.
This is the first time I've named a corner pretty much at a track.
There you go. It is
Being that I don't have a one-syllable name to name a track with or a corner.
been written on with indelible paint pen.
I'll give it about a couple minutes to dry, and while we're doing that, Mike, if you want to start us off with what you consider the best and the worst slot car. And do not cheat and say everything Scalextrics has come out with since 2003.
I don't claim to be an authority on these things. It's eerily quiet here now that we've stopped racing. I wouldn't claim to be an authority on what's actually objectively better, so I'm going to talk about my...
Yeah, again, it's personal preference. I mean, it's all personal preference anyway.
Of course. So since I started with HO, let's go back to HO. My favorite HO car, Tyco 440 X2 F1 cars / cars, specifically probably the Domino's or Craco, the Domino's Chapalolo or the Craco Chapa March. Those are the two cars I had, and they're still my favorite HO cars to run, although I do run a Chapa Penske now.
You ran a Ferrari, too, for a while.
I did. I ran a Ferrari 312, which is un-Tyco-like in that it actually looked like the car was supposed to be.
And then they went out of business. I wonder why.
Something like that, yeah.
Mattel.
132nd was... slotted 962.
Oh, yeah.
Although right now I'm running the...
Sideways has come out with a lot of great stuff lately.
You definitely raced that car the most
which
this
is
season.
This season the car I've run the most, although I did win 2 races with the 962. Here's the sound of the only class that I won in this season.
So what, are we going to have just a torrent of ribbons hitting the mic when Kevin decides to dump his?
Yeah. So
I don't think any non-BTE person has ever won a Group C race at NJ Hobby.
Not as currently constituted, I don't believe so.
No, ever. I remember I was there for the first one. I won both of them.
Class, yeah.
When it was magnet class and the stock 25,000 RPM motor. The original V12 slotted.
If I got worst cars,
model motoring T-Jet ripoff.
Oh, the T plus.
The model motoring T plus. You know what? That's
smoked the arm the second it hit the track.
That was
my god.
That was not good.
The other guy who used to work at NJ Hobby trying to fix those when they first came out. Just hours of me and him trying to do anything.
I remember being excited. I had just started racing T-Jets about 2 years before that, and I thought, finally there will be new chassis made to the same specs. So you won't be at the mercy of what corroded over sitting in the case for what at the time was about 40 years.
Ooh, silver electronics.
Yeah, it had a lot of promise. And you know what? When your manufacturing tolerances can be measured with a yardstick, things don't work out so well. Which brings me to my worst 132nd car, anything from MG Vanquish.
Really?
Now...
I would not have expected that, actually.
No, when running right, they're good. But getting them,
you know what?
Also, that's not a 132nd car.
It's a 128th car. I'm being a little pedantic here. I'm only mentioning it because I want to talk about the car. Because if I really had to pick a least favorite, it would be anything high-impact Scalextric. Although I have been asked not to say that, but I've said it.
Well, no, but I said don't pick an entire brand, and then you picked a different entire brand.
Scalextric has made some good things, but MG Vanquish, God love them, had a really great idea, and it was a good idea. If you don't think it through to its logical conclusion, they said slot cars drift around corners. That shouldn't be necessary. Let's put a differential.
Let's make it less fun.
Now, the problem with that is that, the differential in your real car allows
back to your tolerances on yardsticks, by the way.
Well, yes. So, for one thing, the differential in your real car allows your car to go around corners without wheel spin by letting one wheel turn more slowly than the one next to it. Your car has something called a steering wheel that a slot car doesn't have. And a slot car actually can't really corner without drifting. So it's kind of a weird idea when you even think it through to its conclusion. And yes, the differential everything in the differential was made of plastic and not really well machined plastic, not well molded, not very strong. And everything would break. Everything would break. and people would just run them with straight axles through them. And
And this was before we were introduced to the crazy technology of hot glue,
yes, and
which probably would solve a
you
lot.
could have just locked up the differential, as it were, by filling it with hot glue.
Well, at first, though, we weren't allowed to switch to the straight axle. We had to run the differential.
That's right.
Well, because the straight axle was pretty much a mod by one of the racers there.
That just filled it with glue.
Well, no, he didn't fill it with glue, because the problem with the gears it wasn't the differential that would... Oh, there's a cat.
Hey, Oscar. Let me let him out.
Was he down here?
He was hiding under the couch. Hey, I'll let you out. Come on.
So pretty much, it wasn't the fact that the differential would break, it's that the crown gear would strip.
It would pop almost off the differential. Well, I'm demonstrating something here, which you cannot see, but it would just separate.
And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is MG Vanquish was kind of doomed from the start. Fly was originally owned by 3 people. Fly is a very well-known Spanish slot car manufacturer.
And escape artists now, via different brand names.
Madness. No,
Racers?
we're not. Yeah.
Flyers? Fly slot?
Oh, did you just get... Oh, way to go.
What?
Flop sweat.
No,
I thought we were talking about something we shouldn't have.
No,
Shame on you, Fly guy.
But pretty much what happened with Fly is that the 3 owners went their separate ways. One created MG Vanquish, one created Spirit, and one kept the Fly name.
Spirit.
So what happened to MG Vanquish was they made these cars. They made 7 or 8 of them, if I had to take a stab at it.
The cat car.
And I have the cat car.
The Shadow.
I also have the Shadow. But what happened was they fell victim to illegal practices in that the Fly people came up and said, if you sell MG Vanquish or Spirit, we won't sell you Fly. Which, again, is a completely illegal practice. And that's kind of the end of that. But before we get too drawn into that nightmare of a topic, Kevin, do you want to talk about your picks for best and worst slot cars?
Oh, man. Well, let me start off with the best. And I was on record from NJ Hobby official documentation of saying the Hobex NSR Mosler is the best slot car I've ever driven out of its package.
This is the
which at the time was true until now.
Are you drinking Kevin's beer?
Well,
Yes, there's one.
out of the package, I still say NSR might be the best car. But if I had to really... my favorite group of cars are obviously modern LMP, Group C Racing from Slot.it, and 60s GT, most namely the Slot.it Ford GT40.
Yeah.
That is a nice
Which
car.
is an amazing car out of the package, so much that it had to be demotored to race in 60s GT.
What kind of jerk would make that rule?
Sell more motors? What? Sell more motors? No, as in someone else buy the cheaper Skeletrix rip-off's car.
No, it wasn't even that. It was that... Okay, so I am the idiot who used to make the schedule.
Skeletrix GT40, put the NSR motor in, that'll fix everything.
And the problem here was the GT race has evolved from a place where it used to be Skeletrix cars, and then because other people started coming out with cars in that league, we started... Would you break it again?
No, the paint from your wall.
Wow.
I'm riding, I figured out that if you
Rail
floor
ride,
it through
Oh,
here.
yeah, you can ride that rail
Got
over
the
it.
scratch and sniff curve going on.
Yeah.
Oh.
That definitely, even because there is no attempt at making the lap length equal in the 2 lanes on this track. It is entirely a right-handed track with one left turn in the middle of it.
Leftish turn.
That's a lot.
But there is the advantage if you're on the outside lane that you can ride the rail around the one end.
Modified.
We might have to take a picture of this track and load it. But Kevin, what about worst?
Oh, man. Anything that's ever failed me in a race, even if it were a good car. Oh, let's see. Worst slot cars.
MEV, hearse.
No, I mean, I actually like the MEV hearse. I have a new one that I haven't done anything yet. Model motoring chassis. I have only had a couple of them, and every single one of them burned up. Immediately.
Tis the fate of anything from that particular scam artist.
Let's see. T-dash. What are some bad 132 cars? I hate how Carreras run, but they're really beefy. Let's see.
But I mean, what about those, the the Fly Avantis.
No.
Fly
slot.
Panos.
No. The shaft drive is where I'm going with this. But it's not the Vipers, the BMWs, or even the Skelectrics with the front motors. No. It is the Williams from Fly Slot with that stupid mid-cluster shaft.
Yes. As I reach for one to show you when you can't look.
Is it making noise? Can we put it in front of the mic if we...
Here. You know
what it's like to crush a penny?
Hang on, let's put it on the power and take a listen to this.
Yummy.
The
That's
computers.
the sound of quality.
I mean, I can still hear us. We're definitely still recording.
All right. That's one of the worst. Even though I won the one race that I raced it in with the Penthouse Forum Old Smuggler's car.
Well, and I remember that being one of the better BTE backwards and forwards to it, which was Kevin had talked me out of buying the Williams that night, and I ran the March, and Kevin beat me, and I just looked at him and goes, "What's that, Brian? Don't buy the Williams?" And he proceeded to bring the car around.
Okay.
He proceeded to go up. And
Mine was quiet.
Well, no, not at the end of the race.
No, but
At the end of the race, he went, "What?" Like he held the car to his ear and like made it click at him, and he goes, "What's that, boy? One race and you're dead?"
Pretty much.
So, yeah, mine's a lot. I mean, I honestly think best slot car out there, and I'm coming from a slightly different angle here because from selling them.
I'll still run Group 5.
I'd say best from like a starter standpoint would probably be a Mega G. They probably made the best production HO chassis out there.
Probably.
Because, I mean, again, like, it'd be great if you could still get Tyco 440 Narrows, but you can't.
They can't.
So...
The 440 wides came out a little bit later, so there are still a lot of those going, but the Narrows are hard to come by.
So, I mean, if you're out there and you have to buy a car...
We could give all the way a tuning tips for the Tyco 440, which bulkheads to pick and which chassis to pick.
That's true.
And
we'll get to that another time.
Again, like, we already have the mass unsubscribe thing going on just from the topics in general.
Do dozens of episodes on Tyco 440s and their bodies and chassis.
The rarity of the checkmark bulkhead.
So yeah, like the best out there, if you can't get your hands on a Storm Turbo, I think they're called, just get a Mega G Plus and call it a night. HO worst.
Super G Pluses though were really good right out too in the internet.
Yeah, they're just not available anymore though.
No. They'll smoke a Mega G.
They are quicker. They're a little harder to...
Oh.
You took a bite out of something.
Took a bite out of your splitter, I believe.
No!
There you go. Here's your bite, and here's your car.
Another one bites dust.
No, it wasn't the splitter. Now we're doing damage assessment, which is the fun part of slot car racing. I cannot figure out... Oh, it's the end plate.
Oh.
It's not all that noticeable.
Nom.
So,
But yeah, so... And
that's pretty noticeable.
worst HO car, TCR.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Just hands down TCR. TCR, doesn't matter if it's ideal or not. You know, it's a wonderful toy. It's ideal. And like...
Ideally, you would not purchase this.
132nd, I have to say best. I mean, my favorite this year was the Alpha DTM car. That was my favorite car in 2016.
That's from Slotted, yes.
But I have to say, like, absolute best...
that was the best new...
That was the best new car.
And that was us running them inline and everything.
Yeah, we ran them pretty much stock with
other than the Carreras in that race that decided to run whatever.
Converting them from magnet to non-magnet, but
as
we consider that stock.
Yeah, as far as best 132nd car goes, again, from like a beginner standpoint...
My wing is left building.
Probably anything from Slot.it, even though that's against my own rule. If I was forced to pick one because it's my rule, I'd have to say the GT40 is great for a beginner because the body's actually pretty bulletproof and the car runs great.
Oh, which one though?
The Skelectric, the Slot.it GT, the Slot.it GT40.
The Slot.it ones are brittle as hell. They're pretty much like losing a fender on these.
Yeah, but here's the thing:
if the kid who remains nameless T-boned my car, which won many races for Mike this year over. But
the car's customizable is what I'm getting at. You can do as much to that car as you want.
You mean put the scale auto ball bearing in and just pretty much kill everyone?
Well, you can't
based
do
on
that because they don't make the short can of that anymore.
Of course, I have all of them.
Yay! And that's why that motor's illegal. Yay!
No.
And where's 132nd car? Nico non-lightning. Nico non-lightning. Ford, not Ford.
I hated
Jaguar.
the clear chassis
Jaggy type.
because those things cracked everywhere.
My rear wing is behind the wall, behind the mic. So
I had a toothpick in my.
That's okay. We're getting some sort of like howling mine feedback now.
It's the heater that's come on.
Oh, okay.
Heat official.
Heat official condition of temperature.
Okay, so that wraps up best and worst. As Kevin again tries really hard to make sure he leaves here with no viable cars.
It's only the Group 5 cars.
Mike, do we want to do this one? Or do we want to save that for next time and we'll do this one?
What's this?
Do that one? Or that one?
Oh yeah, I think we can.
I think I'm
move on to that. Yeah. So, the first one. So.
Okay, so Kevin, we're going to start you off, and we're going to talk about this one here if you want to read it off.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm giving the monkeys from
Read the whole thing.
No. Hold on, let me.
Why don't you just tell us the name of the topic you'd like to hear about?
So we're about to talk about subcultures within the subculture of slot car racers.
And there's multiple episodes in this, but we'll touch on it here.
We'll touch on it. Kevin, if you want to talk about some of the subcultures you know of while we switch to you to lane 1, I'll stay in lane 2, and Mike will go on headset.
Like muscle cars?
You like muscle cars? I'm going to come in, and I'm going to see you racing some sort of Nissan Skyline. But I'm going to talk about muscle cars. Right,
I can tell you one thing that we're all ready for tonight. It's some DP.
What'd you pull?
DP?
Oh, do you have another one?
No.
This is
Well, then what am I supposed to race?
I actually have his other one. But it's broken because it broke in my box. Well, my box tumbled inside my
What do you have
car.
with you?
I have my NSR slotted, and
Do you have your 60s GT car?
I have my 60cc car.
Excellent. I have 2 of them.
So if you're getting into slot car racing by racing with your friends, this is going to be a lot of it, deciding what cars you have and don't have, and figuring out what matches up against what. And the answer will be nothing matches up against anything, and you're just going to have a lot of fights. But that's okay.
And everything is awful.
Yeah, pretty much. Wow, that is quite a rumble.
It is.
Heater. Sorry, guys. It is March. It's still chilly here in New Jersey.
New Jersey, official state of slot car racing everywhere.
It's still not my favorite.
Primarily a slot car state.
It is a raw day here in New Jersey. Cold, wet. So yeah, subcultures with slot car
Wow,
racing.
he's running the best on this track.
I mean, I came to slot car racing in many ways through my love of real racing.
And not affording that I can't afford to do it.
Right, which there's no chance that I can ever do in real life. Although we
are about to, which is a topic for another time.
we will come to that another time. But
You're in episode 8 at this point.
yeah, so I mean, I tend to assume that anybody who is racing pretend cars knows something about real cars and real race cars in particular, but that's really not necessarily true. And
We're not racing magnet traction, so Jackie's story isn't really right here.
Nor should it be true, I suppose. It's always funny to me because I come at it from a particular angle. I think it's funny that, guys whose concept of cars is, muscle cars only, pretty much just muscle cars. You'll find them running a tiny pink bubble that vaguely looks like a Mitsubishi Eclipse in a T-Jet race. And,
Down the foxhole.
Once again got down the foxhole.
I missed the hoodie.
We gotta buy a net or something for there.
Yeah, what I need to buy is actually the other door that's over there that I haven't used yet. You might notice that 2 of the surfaces are doors.
Oh, you
Yeah.
want to run NSR only?
Well, what do you got?
The P68.
Alan Mann.
Ooh. The Ford P68. Powered by the Cosworth DSV. The engine that dominated Formula One and was totally inappropriate for endurance racing. And he found another way off the table. Good job.
Did you land in your box?
No, I hit my box.
It'd be funny if you landed in your box and broke other cars.
I am finding the points in every part of this track. That's the key to learning. If you're starting racing, find every spot to fall off possible, and then don't fall off there eventually.
Remember, the fastest you can go, just as in real racing, is just this side of the limit. And
That
the way
sounds
you
horrible, Kevin.
find the limit is to go over it. So,
Well, just remember, crashing in a slot car hurts a lot less than crashing in a real car.
that's right.
Except in your left pocket. If that's where you carry your wallet, which is where I do, so I automatically think you do.
I think jokes are funnier when you explain them.
I think it also would probably hurt your wallet more if you crashed a real car, but what do I know?
Oh, I lost a screw. That's what that noise was.
Oh, there goes the screw.
Oh!
N64 reference. 45 minutes into the recording.
Yeah. Something like that.
If he keeps racing like that, he's going to cut a screw.
So my
Using an Allen key to turn up Phillips' head.
my turn at the headphones is taking a turn for the worse. This topic is dying.
A little bit. So, other things you got to realize is, and I guess we can talk a little bit about
Speaking of dying.
HO versus 132nd, because those really are the subcultures.
My
of the different.
track has claimed another car.
So you have people who are really into, they know. Oh, did we break the track?
Maybe.
You have people who are really into what they're into, and for example, they're talking about the muscle car guys, but you get the same thing. You get people who show up and who are super into NASCAR or super into open wheel racing, or as it's known in slot car racing, Indy, regardless of what the open wheel car is.
Okay, there's no problem.
That's an Indy, and that's an Indy, and that's an
That's
Indy.
an Indy. That's
Why
an
don't you
Indy.
just tell me what you want to race?
And it's funny because
That's got open wheels. That must be an Indy. It may be a shopping cart, but it's an Indy, I tell you.
That's actually a bare chassis of a Tyco 440 narrow pen. So if you snap the body onto it, it could be that.
why are you trying so hard to get me off the track, Kevin?
It's short wheelbase. What do you want from me?
Very
I'm skipping
satisfying.
part of it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of number one radius turns on this track. But they're Carrera number one radius.
Yeah, so they're only like a number 4 in scale. Like those turns.
There's actually like 2 turns in this track that are
Radius
ideal.
1 Carrera is like a Banks collection.
Can we put banks on this?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Carrera
You want
makes
them.
banking, yeah.
But
That actually,
like in like this back turn here, maybe.
Yeah, you can. I have
that's actually not a bad idea. Banking for non-magnet is a little weird, but
most of the cars are on the track.
we could try it, I guess.
I had nothing to do with that.
He actually he did. He went under him.
You might need to repaint your walls after
He
this.
shouldn't have been sideways, I suppose, will be the answer.
But getting back to the topic that Mike really wanted to talk about, it's kind of weird how you'll find people who are into slot car racing who have no interest in actual car racing at all, in the slightest. Like, oh hey, this is so and so's car, and this is the backup car, and like, for example, right now I'm racing the blue Team Austria car, which historically ran like what, 1 lap
Something like that.
and exploded.
Yeah.
And that's why I have the blue one. I think it's funnier to have the one that never did anything.
Whereas you're racing Jackie Hicks, who was only good at this.
Jackie Eats in the 1969 Le Mans winning GT40 Mark 1.
But
which
there's-
they got back to.
There's like a gaggle of people who,
Always want the big car that won.
well, it's not even only want the car one. It's like, oh, what's the best slot car? I do not care what the real car was. I do not care who drove it.
Which, if you want to win slot car races, might be a good way to go about it. But I'm not very good at doing that, which is why I was running the longest overhang the car in the world.
And I'm running a flying coffin when,
Just getting rings run around you. But-
yeah, by GT40 because, reality.
So,
Well, in that year, the 917 Longtail set out a pretty killer pace until it died. That was the same year, right? The long tail of 917.
Yeah.
And then the number 3 GT40 took the lead before. Oh.
Yo, there it is. There it is.
What? Oh.
Taillight. Oh.
Oh, that's not bad, actually.
The if you know what a 917K looks like, you know that under the rear overhang is tubes.
I'll put it in my box.
Magnesium tubes on a rail car. Aluminum.
I'm surprised it's lasted this long.
Plastic pieces on an NSR, and that is the first thing to go on an NSR.
This car survived a pretty long time without getting, just beat the shit out of it. So.
Yeah, I mean, mine has literally nothing under the rear overhang.
I had a 917-10.
I'm gonna run this to feel good about myself.
Oh, is that magneted though?
Yes, it is.
Oh man.
I have
It's got
a
a
magneted NSR Mosler.
I don't have that, but
Now, the Mosler is a car where I kind of feel what it must be like to be one of those guys that likes slot cars but doesn't like real cars, or doesn't know much about real cars, because I literally never heard... I literally have never heard of the Mosler MT900, is that what it is? Until I saw it in slot car form. So...
I heard about it on Top Gear, but they really didn't show it. They just showed a crashed one, and then
the one they wrecked.
But I mean, this is like Team Holland or something. Okay, well that's just a rolling nightmare. Picks up track with car.
Kevin wants to take the track home with him.
But yeah, so what we're running around now is a $99 NSR that I put $35 wheels on the back.
And tires that you have to change every time.
Well, no, these are the gluten-free, so...
That you have to change.
Yeah, you have to change not only the tires, but the rims as well. I put, multiple hours and way too much money into this, and I think I got third in the end, so it just goes to show you. Although this right now is one of my favorite running cars, which is why I went for it, because... You can have a full conversation, just kind of get in the groove with this one.
Well, yeah, because you're also running it at 10 volts.
Yeah, I bet you I could still fall off. Where's a safe place to crash to prove my point?
Down there.
That's actually...
My 962.
You might not be positive.
No, my finger keeps coming off. Because it's like, don't do it, Brian! Yeah, there we go. Don't do it, Brian. Don't wreck the car you really enjoy. That's what happened to my Renault M1 car. Oh, no. That's actually quiet.
Oh, that's because I took the magnet out of it.
No magnet. Well, yeah, there are kind of subcultures within cultures, and there's people who take this stuff way too seriously, which is why we're called Best Team Ever. We might as well talk about that a little bit, too.
Sure.
The team Best Team Ever came from, and why don't I hold it while we're doing it here. This one, actually, it looks like it's been updated.
It's been Frankensteined. That is the chassis of a different Scale Extra Mustang that is also broken, and the motor out of a third.
So what I'm holding here is one of those white Scalextric cars you could buy. It didn't have any livery on it, but it was cheaper, which is why a lot of us ended up with them.
That's certainly why I bought it.
The same thing of red striping tape we all have.
Yes.
Because you buy that striping tape from Karma once.
And you are ready to put stripes on everything for the rest of your life.
Actually, I actually think this is Pactra, not...
That's Pactra.
This is Pactra. Pactra with striping tape if you want to make your own BT cars at home.
Which is actually for RC cars. So if you want to make BT RC cars and bring us into another world, go for it.
And it didn't even have a BTE on it. It just had it on the back, and it's still here. A little sticker.
It's a piece of Scotch tape, actually, that I wrote on with a ballpoint pen.
Best car ever.
We still have the best ribbons ever.
Yeah, they're sitting in this box, yeah.
So, I ran
Tape official
with
slot
that.
car partner of slot car racing all over.
I ran with this. I don't even think the striping was on it yet.
No, the stripe was there.
I had not yet colored in the Scalextra driver.
I don't think the driver was...
Sharpie.
I don't think it... I don't even know if... It definitely didn't say ET grip on it.
No, that happened later. That's another story. The STP decals were a happy accident.
It was inspiring the brand.
The STP decals came off the Auto World decal sheet that everyone had at some point. This is also where the numbers came from.
Oh, yeah! That was an Auto World.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's fine.
Kevin running and running into. Told you that car was too
Hung
flat.
up on the track. So this was, that was it. That was where it started.
That was Genesis.
This truly not best car ever. But I wrote
worst car ever.
Yeah, so we decided to form a team per se during those Saturday test and tune sessions
To race a class that we didn't like.
Yes, as
With
it happened.
people we didn't
Don't know.
know. Not myself.
But we settled on the team name Best Team Ever because we knew that we were not going to be very good. And the best thing about a joke, as Brian said earlier, is when you explain it. And
Or when it backfires and you actually were pretty good.
we were not bad for the fact that we were completely out of our depth.
We were a 3-man team with
Other people had other teams had 5.
I actually have my car for
slightly escaped animal from the zoo.
So, but it gave me great joy that people kept walking up to us and saying, as though they were the first person to say it and the smartest person in the room, more like worst team ever. Oh, don't laugh at my moment. If Stone Cold Steve Austin had walked in, that would have made it better, I think. What? It's the worst team. What?
And pretty much,
But where's he now? Not drinking beer. That's right, Stone Cold. I'm talking to you.
I'm talking to you, Stone Cold Steve Austin, directly. But that's kind of where it came from. It's just this
Balls
one
in your
joke
court now.
that we ran with way
What?
too much. 2 of our cars have Best Team Ever stickers on them. Does
Yes,
the
our real
Firebird also have a BT on it?
Oh, it's in the interior on this carbon fiber radio plate.
So
My car is new. I haven't defiled it yet.
you didn't defile your old one either.
That's true.
It's not like it didn't have stickers on it.
That's also true.
So it's one of those things where we're going to put one on our way out.
This car is actually really good.
We're going to put BTEs on your hood in the shape of a BTE.
Even though it should be my car, which is yet to be painted.
I did give you enough for that. That was my first mistake.
I paid for it, which was my mistake. A waste of money.
The boxcar is back on the track again, running around the foxhole. Brian really wants to knock it into the foxhole.
Well, any hole's a goal.
So we're about 57 minutes.
57. This is 40.
Yeah, I know because I forgot to start.
So we're at about 57 now. We're thinking about wrapping it up in the next little bit because we know no one's made it this far. First of all, hi, Mom. How you doing? Thanks for listening.
Congratulations on listening this far.
I don't know. I think she probably just jumped to the end.
The one person that's probably going to listen to this is the one that might hate us the most.
Or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Or
Because
Stone Cold.
we did address him directly.
Like I
So-
said, man, beer's in your court now, bro.
So we'll go ahead and wrap this up before everybody, continues to write worse things on our Facebook
I've seen
page.
you drink those fruity drinks.
We don't know if we're gonna do these every week, every other week, never again. Like
That mojito's not a cold beer, Steve Austin. You're not the $1 million man anymore. It's over.
This is taking a turn into wrestling podcast.
so we'll go ahead and
I
call
remember
it
you in your
here.
earlier days, bro, before you wore that leather vest. I remember that spandex.
Thank you, Kevin. You never disappoint me. You know that.
In fairness, I was the one who brought up Stone Cold.
But again, we'll go ahead and sign off. This
Well,
has
if there's
been
one thing to do to get yourself notoriety, it's go after a highly respected public figure.
Or Stone Cold.
Or Stone Cold Steve Austin, because you're not respected anymore, bro.
You done?
No. Remember when The Rock beat you at WrestleMania? I do.
Anyway,
on that note,
we're gonna go ahead and sign off. This has been best podcast ever. Only like the third worst lie we said all night. I've been Brian. With me are the 2 more important members of Best Team Ever, Kevin and Mike. And we'll see you next time.
the joke's on
Good
us
night.
because we will continue to be us.